Everyone. Good morning, Tree of Life. Welcome to our annual Congregational Meeting. As you know, it was rescheduled from last week because we had a little cold front come through, and it's pretty cold this morning as well. But please make sure that you sign in. We have clipboards floating around. We want to make sure that we have everyone on record that is here today. And also we want to make sure with a quorum, and it looks like already that we have established a quorum with the numbers that are here. So we greatly appreciate you battling that cold this morning and coming in and being a part of all of this, okay? So there's still some people trickling in, and then we will get going here really quick. All right, so what we're going to start off is a call to order and an opening prayer. So is the voice from above, is he hearing us right now? Pastor, are you out there?
I am here. I am here. Someone has to unmute me.
All right, this is a first for me. All right, so this is, if you could, Pastor, from lands far away, if you could have an opening prayer for us. We have called the meeting to order, and now you're up, sir.
Yes, sir. I assume you all can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate a little feedback. Makes me feel better. I'm actually on the camera right behind everyone, so I'm seeing everyone back in the head. Hello, Lisa. But in any case, the Lord be with you all. And let us pray. Gracious God, we give thanks for this day, for the gathering of these people, for the work before us, and for the work to become. And we simply ask you to be a part of all of it, what has been and what will be. Through your Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. All right. Now, before we get going and making motions and things like that, because of we want to have everything documented properly. So if you do make a motion, or if you have questions, or you want to speak, please state your name first, and then go from there, okay? So loud and proud, because we have Deb up here. She is recording everything and writing everything down, and she would greatly appreciate, and I would greatly appreciate you saying your name. Make it easier so it'll flow a little bit faster, if that makes sense, okay? So with that in mind, we are moving along in our agenda, and we are going to have approval of the January 26, 2025 minutes from our last year's meeting. Okay, so do I have a motion? Okay, that was impressive. I love that. All right, now, she set the standard pretty high right there. So, do we have a second? We have a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Show of hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. Let us move on. Okay, church council. We have some changes that are occurring, okay? And so this is the time that we are going to say thank you to retiring members from the council, all right? And one of them being me, and the other one is Ronnie, okay? So we'd like to thank me and Ronnie for services. Thank you. I've never gotten such goosebumps in all my life right there. Okay, so now continuing terms and appointments. If I could have the following people come on up here to the front. I will call your names. Come on up. Sit down. Not yet, Jim. All right. I know he's eager here. All right, so I get Sandy McCarthy. Jim, come on up, bud. Deb, Heidi, Jenny, Russ, and Jeff. Okay. All right, so these are the people that made my job much easier, and I greatly appreciate everything that they've done, and we're very fortunate to have them continuing on with that tradition and doing all the things that we do to help make this as great a place as we can. So really quick, would you please give them a round of applause for their work? Okay, and with that, meaning that stay. With two people leaving, we have two people that will now be joining us. All right, so could we get Rich Broom? Come on down. And Rick Grabowski, come on down. Okay, so now Rich and Rick are going to be 3-year terms, and we appreciate them accepting those offers, and we're going to vote. Yep. We are going to vote, but we're also going to, for council election recommendations, we are going to have Jim as the treasurer, Heidi as the financial secretary, Deb as the secretary, also as our incoming president, Sandy, and our incoming vice president, Jeff. So do I have a motion for these recommendations for the new positions, for the new additions, and the new positions in leadership on the council? Do I have a motion? Okay, Jack Zimmer, he makes a motion, and I saw Ms. Stiglman, Diana, second that motion. Okay, so any discussion? Or other nominations? Hey, slow down. We don't need that many. Come on now. All right. So, no other nominations or discussion? All in favor? Show of hands. Opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to try to be as brief as possible because I'm outgoing. I'm going to make this transition very smooth. Okay, I'm not going to fight it or anything. All right, so I just wanted to take a look back really quick on this past year and some of the challenges and some of the celebrations that we've had. With that being in mind, I'm going to hit the challenges first. And with everyone that knows us already, the financial situation that we found ourselves in this past year was quite challenging. Okay, and it was so much that the endowment that we had invested in, we had to borrow money from that to keep things going. Okay, so with that in mind, that endowment is now basically non-existent. As far as a lucrative sum of money in there, we had to borrow that to keep things going here, so that is the issue. So then what we'd like to ask, I know a lot of you have already made your pledges. Okay, Karen and I sat down and we said, we made our pledge. Is there any more that we can do, say another 10%? So we sat down and we had this discussion, and I said, Karen, if you just cut back to a case a week, that would probably cover it. Okay, so that started a whole nother conversation that I won't get into. But, of course I'm kidding. But, we just looked at, can we get another 10% and spread that over those 12 months to try to help out? And so that's what we decided to do. Okay, so we're just asking that you look at it again, and maybe you could add on a little bit, say that 10% or something, just to help out, because we need roughly $10,000 a week to make this whole operation work, okay, from mortgage to everything else. Okay, so if you guys could, and it doesn't work out, we understand, but if you could look at it and see if you can make that work, we would greatly appreciate it. Okay, enough of that. Let's get to some of the good news, okay? And some of the good news is the thing that you see that everybody sees now just pulling up is our new, our board out there, okay, with announcements on it and everything. So we added that, and that was huge, okay? And so that gets the word out there a little bit better than just having our banners that could be blowing in the wind and going out there and changing them. I know Jill appreciated that she doesn't have to go out in that weather, okay? And so that was one that I wanted to talk about. But the one that really strikes best with me is the children and the numbers that have just blown up. And we greatly appreciate that. You know, and with the two people that we have in those positions have made a huge difference. You know, when our boys, which is kind of our youngest one now is a senior, and that was Pastor's first baptism. And so now he's going to see him graduate in, hopefully, in a few months here. And so it's been an awesome adventure, and we had a bunch of students that they came to Sunday school and everything else, and through camp and everything. Our numbers were awesome, and for whatever reason, other challenges occurred. Those numbers dwindled. But now, and you saw it at our Christmas, pageant. You saw it with our Halloween. The numbers are just crazy, and it's awesome, and we just got to keep doing that. I think I've told you this before. I'm an old coach, educator, and old coach told me once, he's like, you know, you can't build a herd if you kill off the calves. And we're doing just opposite here, and that's what's awesome, okay? So we have Diana and we have Nomad that have just done a spectacular job, and I would like you to give them a round of applause real quick. Now, that doesn't mean that you rest or anything. You keep going at it, get after it, and keep doing what you do. So we just have some pictures up here. We have a large confirmant class there. And just going through and seeing all of these pictures and all the numbers that we have here has been awesome, okay? And we got to keep that going. That's the key. If we can continue growing those numbers. And real quick on the Halloween thing, Karen and I and the boys came here to give the trunk or treat. And I was pretty proud because we have a tradition. We give out full-size candy bars. And we showed up with 150 candy bars. We ran out in the first hour. You want to talk about embarrassing. But with Diana and her team, as smart as they were and with foresight, they gathered other candy from other people, and they were able to bring us more to finish out, probably another couple hundred kids. So I'm not going to let that happen again. I don't know if I'll do full size because they're expensive to buy for 300 kids. I don't think we can do that anymore. That'll probably go in a different direction that we'll give to the church in another way. So, all right. So Vacation Bible School and everything else, just we got to keep supporting that as best we can. I'm very proud of that. Karen and I have been in education now combined 62 years. So it means a lot to us. And we got to keep going with that, okay? So enough about me. I'm done here. So they're very happy with that. And I am going to pass it on to, not yet. There you go.
Sir, I'm going to need you to turn over that name tag right there because it says Kevin Solberg, Church Council President. So we got to get you a fresh one. You have a brand new, non-branded with Church Council President name tag to wear.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
As a thank you from our congregation and from our council, we appreciate the service that you have provided to us over these past few years. And thank you very much. And know you and your wife are both very glad that your term has ended and you get to just join the rest of the congregation as a member now. But we thank you very much for your service.
Thank y'all. Can I now? Okay. All right. I've been told now we're going to pass it on to Pastor, the voice from above.
Oh, boy.
Is he there?
Let's see if this works. Kevin, you're gonna have to give me a little feedback for just a minute. Let me know whether or not you can hear me and if you can see me.
We can hear you.
All right, well, that's the first step. Is there any chance you're gonna get to see me? Well, all right. I will assume that at some point they'll figure out how to do what we're doing. First of all, Barizam in China. Right? Am I saying that correctly? Yes. Yes. Well, here, yes, there it's Ashabui. I know it's very echoey in here, and there was a reason for that. Oh, you can't see me. Wonderful. All right. And I'm going to ask our cameraman to do me a favor. If there is any way you can change the direction of your live stream so I can at least see some faces, boy, would that ever mean something to me. While he's doing that, I'm going to introduce these people with me. This is Romeo. He's one of our students here at TKE. I have George and we have David. And I just thought you might want to take a moment. They're waving. We can see that. We love that. And I thought you'd just like to take a moment and get to meet some of the folks who you've heard an awful lot about, but maybe had not gotten to meet yet. Romeo, how long have you been here at TKE?
About 6 years.
6 years. That is a long time. A good place to be.
Yes.
Yes. And you've seen me here before?
Yes.
Yes. I actually come here and work. I'm not vacationing when I come here, right? Okay. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you saying that. I'll pay you later. George, David, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes. David, you know, go first. Yeah, you can go ahead. Okay. Hello, everyone. We love you. We're praying for you always. We're praying for Pastor. He's been a special person to us. We really thank God for him. And we thank you for allowing him to come for, it's a big sacrifice from your side. He's always been coming and helping us with so many things, fixing many things for us. Life has become better since he started coming. So we thank God for him and we thank God for you. We are praying for you.
Appreciate that, George, big time. Well, folks, let us get to the business here, shall we? I'm going to let you guys on business, yeah, and I'll get to my report here and see if I can get y'all all squared away over here. The 2024 year has been a fascinating one. I'm like Kevin, I want to first of all thank everyone who has served on church council. That has meant so much to me. You can't do a church by yourself. You can't be in Kenya without leadership. And the work that you all have done over the years and the work having a strong council means everything. And so, Kevin, first of all, thank you so very much. It has been an honor to serve under you, sir. And I hope that I've been more of a blessing than a curse on any given day. Being church council president is not easy. But please know that I honor the sacrifice and the energy that you have committed to that. And it doesn't go without notice. We saw growth last year. I want you to take some joy in that. I know I did. Our church attendance went up from 124 every single week to 132.
last year when I mentioned that Tree of Life wasn't growing and that we weren't losing members. I mentioned this to Bishop Mike, and he said, "If you aren't dying, you're doing a lot better than most of the congregations out there." So as we turn the corner into 2025, and I see that there are more people attending worship, boy, that sure does an awful lot for me, and I hope it does for you as well. We saw early service grow. Actually, we saw it drop a little bit, but that's a complicated number. It went from 28 to 26, but honestly, it's holding. We're seeing the late service grew by 10 people last year as well. All these are signs of health and growth, and I take some real joy in that. A couple other things that are worth noting: we had 5 baptisms last year, 3 of which were for adults. That is not something that every church gets to say in the Lutheran faith. As far as what we were up to, most of you are aware, but I'll just kind of quickly run through this. We took a team to TKE, where I am right now, and we did quite a bit of time setting up electrical work last year. I can tell you that work seems to still be functioning and doing exactly as we'd hoped it would. We did a lot of work around Tree of Life as well. We reworked our organ, got it repaired, got it up and going again. That is an $80,000 investment we made 20 years ago, and we're still benefiting from it today. We celebrated May the 4th this year. You don't get to do that every single Sunday. And if I had been there this Sunday with y'all, I was going to show the picture of me holding a lightsaber. Never in my career did I think I'd get to do that, but that was good fun. I managed to end up in the hospital a lot in 2024. I'm going to commit to you that I'm not going back again this year. Okay? I've had all the hospital fun I want. It has been a wonderful experience to get to see Bogart Nomad and Heath Powers come to the pulpit this year. And I hope that you are excited about that as well. And if all goes to plan at the end of this meeting today, Bogart Nomad comes on board because of a special gift as a part-time youth director. And we were going to put him and Diana, set them loose and let them do what they do. Both of them at one point either have been or still are deacons in the ELCA. We are in an extraordinarily good position in terms of staffing and youth ministry. And for a church our size and our location, the fact that we have that is incredible. December was a very hard month for me and my family. I'm still not entirely over it. To watch my mom's health decline some and to do the things we had to do for Benjamin, that was hard. And I just want to thank you all for walking with me through that. I'm hopeful a little more time helps heal some of those wounds. And one of the things that I take as a bit of joy in the midst of all that difficulty was that we had 243 people attending Christmas Eve worship service this year. I consider that to be a real win. It's been a full year, but I am convinced and holding out that we are not just going to see continued growth, but we're going to be stronger in the ministry that we've been called to do. That is my report. If you have questions, someone with a microphone is going to have to ask them.
Can you hear me? It is.
I can.
Your report was for 2025, just to clarify, PC.
That is correct. My apologies. Thank you.
Any questions for PC? Cool. With that, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And give us a second. I think actually the treasurer report, I know looking at the financial numbers has got everyone in the audience really, really excited. So if you need to get that second cup of coffee so we can actually go into that. Next slide, please.
I'm not going to lie to him. That's why I tuned in from Kenya. I've been waiting for this information right here.
You're not the only one. When you actually look at the YouTube of this video, this is going to be the part where you see this spike in the number of people that are looking at it.
Preach, brother.
So appreciate it. As you guys know, you should have all received an email with the link to both the 2025 financial report and the recommended 2026 budget that council has been working on for the last few months. So let me know if you have any questions about that. Next slide, please. So we're actually going to go through a little bit more of an abbreviated version of the numbers this year. Please don't everyone cheer all at once here. Idea is just want to try and hit the high points. If you guys do have questions about specific line items within the numbers, there will be an opportunity at the end to ask questions. So for the 2025 financial report, our income for 2025 was $513,214. We ended up borrowing $49,000 from seeds. We'll go into a little bit more detail around why we were required to do that here on a later slide. That gave us an available revenue for 2025 of $562,214. Next slide, please. So on the expense side, staff expenses came in at $283,867. Building operations and expenses came in at $180,446. Ministry and other expenses came in at $67,557, which gave us a total expenses for 2025 of $531,870. Next slide, please. So this is a graph I actually wanted to spend a little bit of time. You've heard a lot here conversation about the financial challenges we had in 2025 and borrowing from seeds. So we'll start, you see that there's 4 lines on this graph, and I apologize if it's challenging to see this. The bottom one is the gray line. That actually shows you what the cumulative cash or difference between our revenue and expenses was for the year. And this goes from January of 2025 on the left-hand side to December of 2025 on the right-hand side. And you'll see through about May or June of the year, we were roughly, expenses were meeting, revenue was meeting expenses, so that was staying around zero, a little bit under it, but starting in approximately July and then going into August, you can see that we had a very major drop in expenses versus revenue. This was both on the side that offerings go down in August and September. Part of that is what we see with the summer months. The other part that we run into is we have a number of individuals that give on an annual basis. Those gifts come in earlier in the year, and then by the middle of the year, we get into a position where we've eroded the majority of those funds that we saved up from earlier in the year. Can someone mute PC, please? Sorry, PC. So, and that's what it went in here. So with the gray line, you can see that we got to almost a 40,000 negative balance in August, went up a little bit in September, went down to about a $45,000 negative balance in November. And then we got a major contributions coming in December, which basically were for the 2026 year, which basically masks what you see from this shortfall that we have on a monthly basis in the cash flow side. Unfortunately, our people that we owe money to for our expenses and our staff, we have to pay them on a monthly basis and almost a weekly basis. And it works out to about $10,000 a week is what we're having to pay, or our expenses are. So that's where the borrowing from seeds came from, is we borrowed $49,000, which gave us the red line on here. So that's the effect of cumulative difference between revenue and expenses with the impact of borrowing from seeds. And you can see that that basically kept us within about $10,000 being the lowest fall, and that got us up to approximately a $30,000 overage because of the offerings that we had in the month of December. Cash on hand, that's the blue line. So that shows you that we really were maintaining a cash flow balance somewhere between, usually underneath $20,000 for the majority of the year. Got to shortfalls in August through November. You can see what happened with that blue line there, that it was lower than what it was earlier in the year. And then that major tick up in December with the increase there. And finally, the purple line, the purple dash line at the top. I guess that's more of a fuchsia color. I'll have to have my kids correct me on the colors because I'm horrible at naming colors. That shows you what the monthly expenses were for every month. And you can see that it averages about $45,000. We had a few things going on in August, September, and October between insurance payments being due. We had a number of seeds or adopted projects going on that got us to that point as well. There were just a number of things that hit us as a challenge that we were owing about $50,000 in those months. So really, that's a lot of the core function there is we've got a lot of expenses out there, and if we're not bringing in roughly on average $10,000 per week, then we start actually falling behind at that point, and we have to borrow from seeds to make that happen. So next slide, please. That brings us to what the current state of seeds is. So seeds, just to give you guys a little bit of background, we have two different locations where seeds funds reside. One of those is in a cash account that sits at the bank over here at First National Bank of Texas. Within that account are all of our dedicated funds. So year-end cash balance for seeds was at a negative $12,400. That was a phasing effect that I just didn't get a chance to borrow the money from the endowment prior to the end of the year, so it shows up on the books as a negative $12,000. We actually made a $15,000 payment to seeds from the general fund because we ended the year with a lot of cash on hand, and I wanted to get that up to a positive balance. The endowment is actually sits with a group up in Chicago. We're at $38,000 in the endowment right now. Challenge that we run into is there's a minimum balance of $25,000 in the endowment. If that goes below $25,000, we have to close that account, which means that we lose access to the opportunity to invest those funds and get a greater rate of return on that money. That gives us a total balance of $26,311 if you take that negative account, which is why you've heard Kevin talk about that seeds is basically depleted. We borrowed $49,000 last year from seeds. We've only got $25,000 in there at the end of last year. So seeds historically, as you guys know, was left over from a capital campaign that we ran approximately 10 or 15 years ago. It helped get us through COVID. It's also been what we've used to bridge through the cash flow shortfalls that we hit in the third quarter, early fourth quarter every year. Challenge that we run into is historically we've been taking more out of seeds than we've been putting into seeds, and we're at the point now this year where we really can't continue to utilize seeds in that fashion. The resource is basically almost empty. We've got $26,000 year end in that right now. The other thing I wanted to bring up to your guys' attention is our mortgage. Year end, we owe $960,000 is what we owe on the mortgage. Current interest rate on that is 4.125%. We we locked that rate in 2021 coming out of COVID. We saw an opportunity with what rates were doing at that point. Got that locked for a 5-year period. Challenge that we run into is that that's set to expire this upcoming May. Current monthly payment is $8,121 on that. Reason I bring that up is that becomes a bit of a challenge that we see on the horizon for 2026. We've had a lot of conversations in council with how we address that, and I'll go into those in a little bit more detail when we get to the budget discussion. So in summary, the 2020, next slide please. So for 2025, income was $513,214. Available revenue, which includes borrowing from seeds, was $562,214. Our expenses were $531,870, which either gave us a shortfall, if you don't include borrowing from seeds, of $18,657, or an overage of $30,343 if you include borrowing from seeds. So that is the 2025 financial report. With that, I'd like to make a motion to accept the financial report as presented. Caitlin Lameau, she actually had the first motion. Can I get a second? Jenny Jenkins with the second there. With that, are there any questions before we take a vote on the financial report for 2025? Yes, sir. Dennis, can we get a mic? I'll walk over to you, Dennis, so we can get you or is there a microphone that we can get? This way I can stay on this camera.
Good report, Jim. I did have one question. With the endowment and the money in the bank for seeds, what is the total?
It's, if you go back 2 slides, keep going one more, right there. So the total balance at the year end, Dennis, was $26,311. And that's the total balance. The endowment had $38,711 in it at the end of the year. The cash balance was a negative $12,000. And again, that was a function of the timing of when everything occurred. End of the year, I was wanting to get that, make a $12,000 loan from it, or withdrawal from the endowment to get that above a zero balance, but just ran out of time to do that.
So what you're telling us is that Seeds has no more money to borrow from unless we close the endowment.
You're exactly correct. That is 100% the exact message I want the congregation to take away.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a question in the back.
If you all have questions, you can raise your hand and I can bring you a mobile mic, or there's one right here in the center aisle. Come on up to it, and we'll get the sound guy back there to turn it on for you. So I've got a question in the back. Anybody else like to come to the center mic? You're welcome to it.
I'm Donna Nomad. I just had a question. This is our second annual meeting. We've been here a year and a half, and I see how bad the debt is. I've taught financial university with Dave Ramsey for adults and high school students in past churches. And the first thing with Dave Ramsey is to get the debt paid. So I would challenge the council maybe to come up with a plan on how to get that mortgage down, and so that we don't have to have these shortfalls and we don't have to be this tight, and so that the staff who did not get raises the last 2 years can actually get raises.
I definitely hear you, Donna.
So that's a challenge for the council, just to come up with a plan to get the mortgage down so that we're not this, our finances aren't this horrible every year.
No, and I totally appreciate that. The mortgage is approximately 18% of our annual expenses every year. So if we were able to get rid of that, that would definitely help. I think it's definitely a conversation we want to have over the course of the next year here is how do we continue to manage that? Both 100% agree that getting rid of our mortgage long-term is a goal, but the other goal I also have to maintain is how do we make sure that we're able to pay our expenses on a monthly basis? If there are no other questions, George, did you have one? Hold up. I'll wait till you get to the microphone.
Right up.
Hold up, George. Hold up for 2 seconds. The microphone's not working.
Blue on.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Perfect.
On your slide there, it shows an overage from the borrowing of $30,343.
Correct.
Based on what the income and expenses were. What is going to happen with that money? Is that going to go back into seeds, or is that going to be used for 2026?
Great question. So we had the overage of $30,000. Bear with me for 2 seconds. I need to look up a number for you before I answer. So if you look at the balance sheet for 2025, we ended the year with $43,495 in our general checking account. I directed our bookkeeper, Peggy, to actually make a payment back to Seeds for $15,000 to basically put our cash flow balance on Seeds into a positive function. But historically, what we've done and what we're planning to do this year is that funds roll over. We don't refresh and start off with a zero fund in the checking account because we continuously have expenses due on a regular basis. So, from an effective standpoint, we've got approximately $30,000 that we, as of mid-January, it's a little bit more than that. The challenge is we actually get the financial report on an irregular basis. So, but $15,000 of that was used to pay back to Seeds. $30,000 of that is going forward into the general fund for use in 2026. And we do that because When you look at the offerings in December, some of that is funds that come in for the 2026 pledge campaign. So we need to use those funds for expenses within this calendar year. Any other questions? Oh, Ted? Ted Dinklage?
Are there any of the seeds projects that were originally on it still alive? I thought we'd paid everything off.
As I recall, the One Seeds project that was still outstanding was paying back the mortgage, and that we had this predates me being on council. As a matter of fact, I think you were the person who was the treasurer at that point.
Right. That's the only thing I remember that was left. And why don't we just use seed money for mortgage, take it out of the general fund and put it
Correct. And we've really been using seeds as a rainy day fund to help bridge the difference as we get into those cash flow shortfalls throughout the year.
So is it really borrowing, or is it using seeds to pay the mortgage?
If we want to get into a true accounting conversation, we can go that direction. From a balance sheet standpoint, if we actually are keeping a positive cash flow, yeah, good question. I'd have to think a little bit on how to answer. I don't want to answer that. From an accounting standpoint, we are borrowing it when you look at it on the balance sheet, but we're borrowing from ourselves at that standpoint is what it boils down to. Any other questions? If not, all in favor of accepting the financial report as presented, raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Financial report is accepted. Cool, thank you. With that, we will move on to the next portion, which is the 2026 proposed budget. Next slide, please. So, forecasted revenue. So, basically, the 2026 pledge campaign, or stewardship campaign that Jenny Jenkins ran, we had pledges of $296,388 come in. I did an analysis of what was offered for those who did not pledge, and our forecast for those offerings for 2026 is $134,240. And then we did a forecast of all the other revenue that we see coming in for 2026, and that is $61,100, which gives us a total revenue of $491,728. That does not include any borrowing from seeds in those numbers. One risk I did want to bring up to you guys is pledged offerings was at $296,388 in our old system, which was Realm. As you guys know, we are moving to Tithely this morning. As of this morning, we are at $104,000 pledged within Tithely. So with that, I'd actually like to ask Jenny to say a few comments about Tithely and the transition process.
Oh, I was going to get over here so I'm on camera, and then he changed the camera view. So I just want to give y'all just a really brief rundown of what's going on with Tithely, why we're doing this. The Tithely system is replacing what we have used Realm for the past several years. One of the benefits of Tithely is that it's not going to only take care of all of the things that we've used Realm for, but it also gives us a wider variety of services. We're going to have more things that we can use Tithely for, more benefits from Tithely, and it's all going to be for less money. So it's a really great thing in general. However, with any change, there's always hiccups, there's always some transition issues. And so one of the things that we are having to ask of all of you is anyone who entered a pledge, whether it was on a piece of paper, whether it was going into Realm, we are just asking that you redo that pledge online on the Tithely system. When we imported everybody's information over, it didn't bring the pledges over. And everyone that makes a pledge generally during a stewardship campaign, even if you put it on a pledge card, we go and then enter it into Realm, because that's how we are able to track giving in terms of the stewardship campaign and what's pledged and what's been given towards those pledges. We are not asking you to change how you give. If you don't want to give online, that's fine. We just have to set up the pledge part online, and then you can continue giving the way you've been giving or however you choose to give. You should have, if you've made a pledge, gotten an email trying to explain some of this, but I know that there have been some hiccups and issues. So we are glad to help you through that. Myself, Jeff Mabry, some other council members are going to be making ourselves available between services, after service, when you need us. I brought my laptop up here today, so if I need to sit down with anybody out in the narthex after church and help them get that figured out, I'm glad to. It's just a matter of, in the previous systems, we could enter those pledges for you, and we can't do that now. So to get everything transitioned, we just need to have everybody enter their pledge in the new Tidely system. And once we get through those transition hiccups, this is going to be a really, really great piece of software and equipment for us. There's a whole lot of good things that are coming out of it, and it's going to save us money, so it's a win-win-win. But we just ask for your assistance in getting that transition done and appreciate your help.
Thank you, Jenny. Do apologize, I didn't give you a chance to put a slide in here, so I appreciate your coming up and giving us that speech. So next slide, let's move on to the forecasted expenses. So staff expenses for 2026 is $300,273. The major increase there is bringing Deacon Bogart on for 20 hours a week in the congregation. So with the approval of the budget, you would officially start today, is my understanding. So other parts are building operations and expenses, $174,455. Ministry and other expenses is $42,150, which brings us to a total expenses of $516,878. Next slide, please. So, heard a lot of the conversation talking about the mortgage situation. I've already introduced it a little bit, that it's expiring here in May. So, two things did want to mention. When we got into the cash flow crunch last year, one of the things that we did is we approached the organization that holds our mortgage, Mission Investment Fund, and said, we're going through a cash flow shortage at this point. Can you help us out here? So they agreed to give us a 3-month period while we rebuilt our cash reserves a little bit, just paying interest on the loan. Again, don't like it because we're not paying down principal, but got to maintain a positive positive balance within our accounts at the same time. So for the budget, I had to put the other part is we've got the mortgage coming due, or the rate getting readjusted here in May. Anyone who's following the market and what mortgage rates are doing, they've gone up from the 4.125% that we got 5 years ago. They're running somewhere around 7%. When we talked a few weeks ago, 6.75 is what we were seeing as the rate at that point. So that's what we're using for planning purposes for what we think that new rate is going to be. If we do nothing and we just keep the mortgage as it is right now, continuing to pay the same principal that we've got, that means that we will have an additional $15,000 approximately of expenses coming in just associated with that increased interest rate. Unfortunately, right now, given what the shortfall is between revenue and expenses, that would take us up to approximately a $40,000 deficit if we went that direction, which council was not happy with having that number. So we started looking, it's like, what are the options that we can do to get that mortgage payment a little bit lower, just so we can try and minimize that shortfall that we have between revenue and expenses. One option is we can extend it 5 years. These are all options that Mission Investment Fund approached us with. Another one is extend it by 10 years. Again, downside is that we're pushing payment of the principal out, which I don't like. But again, maintaining a positive cash flow balance is bigger priority for me, so I can make sure that we can meet all of our financial obligations. The final one is that we refinance with capital improvements, and this one has got a little bit of an interesting opportunity to it. If you look around the building, this building is approximately 40 years old. We've identified that there's a number of things that are at risk to happen in the very near future here. One of those is our air conditioning unit, for example. It's 30 years old, Russ? So actually, really quickly here, now Russ has actually been working with a group to look at a lot of these projects. Russ, if you'd stand up really quick just so everybody can see you. So he's got a list of approximately 3 or 4 projects that we're looking at. Again, one of those is the air conditioning unit. Problem is that we can't repair the existing air conditioning unit. It's 30 years old. Those parts aren't made anymore. Bigger than that, the refrigerant isn't sold because it's not legal anymore with current regulations. So it's about $54,000 approximately if we want to replace that. Another major issue that we've got with the building is the hardy plank on the exterior of the building. They went hardy plank up to a certain level, then they went plywood above that. Problem is, as any of you live in Houston know, termites love plywood. So we have to keep that stuff painted and well maintained. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot bigger problems down the road. So these are the types of projects that Russ is looking at. There's a few other capital improvements that we're looking as well to how do we optimize the facilities that we have here to make it most appropriate for the ministries that we lead and also make it engaging for new members coming into the congregation. So that was actually something that Mission Investment Fund said that they would be very interested in because it improves the long-term health of our congregation. Where we're at with this right now. So Russ, as I had mentioned, has got a team that's looking at these opportunities. We've been talking about it in council, but we're not at the point right now to make that decision. So our plan is to actually continue to have those conversations over the next month and a half, 2 months here, and then have an emergency congregation meeting at that time to approve what our plan going forward with the mortgage is then. Recognizing that we have to do something because we can't have the shortfall because we don't have seeds to help pay for that anymore at this point. So for this, I still had to put something in for the budget though. So what we ended up putting in is what we think is the most likely case is borrowing approximately an additional $100,000 to pay for those capital improvements. Downside is it pushes that payment out 25 years, but it lowers our payment from roughly $8,200 a year to approximately $7,200, $8,200 per month to $7,200 per month. So if you look at the specific budget line items, you'll see the principal went down significantly in 2026. It's not a good thing. Challenge is we're trying to maintain positive cash flow so we can pay our staff, pay our bills, continue to support the ministries that we do within the church. So in light of that, that's what we put into the budget was we have 1 more month of deferred interest payments. That's finished up here. Well, it actually finished last month, because I guess today's February 1st. So starting here in February, March, April, we actually are going back to our standard mortgage payment. We want to have something in place in May for when that interest rate hike is set to occur to make sure that we have a plan on how to deal with that. So that's really where we're at with the mortgage. Would love to entertain some questions at the end of this. I'm sure there'll be a few. Moving forward on the next slide. Other goals that I have for 2026. Next slide, please. We did repay the seeds loan. I've already talked about that a little bit. Paid that on January 19th. I want to minimal savings to manage through, yes. So that's the challenge that we've got. With seeds only having $25,000, if we get a cash flow shortfall like we had last year, that's going to put us into a very, very challenging position. And really, when you think about it, how can we do this? We can increase offerings, we can increase revenue, so that's part of what we're looking at. We can also continue to grow the congregation, just that'll help us to grow through that as well. We've already talked a lot about the endowment being near minimal levels. I would like to repay seeds because we need to have something to help us get through those shortfall cash flows. Our expenses occur on a weekly to almost daily basis. When we have our revenue coming in clumps, we have to continue to have a rainy day slush fund that helps us actually bridge the gap between revenue comes in and when expenses go out. So again, though, I also recognize longer term financially, we need to get that principal down. Balancing the short-term needs with the long-term needs is a lot of the challenge that we're working through right now. So with that, final slide, the proposed budget as recommended by the council has a total revenue forecast of $491,728. Our expected expenses for 2026 are forecast to be $516,878, which gives us a shortfall for 2026 of $25,150. Our year-end general fund balance, we already talked about that a little bit. What we had in our general fund checking account was $43,496. With one more with that, I'd like to make a recommendation to accept the 2026 budget as presented. Is that okay? Sandy McCarthy, President, first. Can I get a second? Ella Frederick, second. With that, I would like to open the floor to questions about the budget. And remember, please state your name when you ask the question.
Jim Rust. First question, I'm going back to your mortgage options. You guys have done some work on that already. Do you have any feel for what kind of interest rate and impact that's going to be? Any pro formas been run yet?
I've ran the tables on that, Jim. The payments, depending on what you run, the interest rates would be anywhere from $12,000 a year increase to about $18,000 a year. The challenging part is I don't know what the interest rates are going to be when we come around to May. As you guys know, the Fed met last week. They're keeping rates flat at this point, so my crystal ball is not as crystal clear as I would like for it to be on interest rates come May, but those are the types of sensitivities that we were looking at when we put the budget together.
Okay, because you were talking about taking money out to do the projects that Russ has
We have,
so that would kind of mean that you're anticipating a lower interest rate so that you can take money out and increase the principal.
But we're also pushing right now we have 12 years left on our mortgage, so we would be pushing that 12-year payment period out to a 25-year payment period. So we're getting the payment term lower by taking advantage of that lower period.
Very good. And that type of number has not been worked into this budget.
It did work into this number. So what I put into the budget here was not paying interest in January, paying our current rates February through May, and then in May we put in here a 6.75% interest rate, increasing principal by $100,000 to pay for those capital improvements that budget level. We thought about the paint job and the air conditioner, which is about $100,000 of improvements. Now, reason we decided we're looking for that, I'll take a 2-second tangent. Those things are going to need to be done at some point in the very, very near future. I can't tell you when that air conditioner breaks, but when it's going to break, it's a $50,000 repair. And as a council, we were thinking, is it better to be proactive at that point to get it taken care of when we've got this opportunity? Or do we want to try and live on the edge here? So if that thing breaks, we're coming back to the congregation asking for $50,000 cash to repair it when it happens. Because it's $54,000 is the number, Russ, if I'm not mistaken, is your latest estimate? $55,000 to replace the air conditioner. And then the painting needs to be done as well. And then part of the conversation we're having as well is there's things like the fellowship hall. If you guys have been in there, the lighting isn't great. There's a number of improvements. The audio's not great in there either. If we were to make those types of improvements, could we see revenue coming in from third parties, using it for receptions, other things that could possibly start generating capital for us utilizing that space?
But those expenses would be really only expressed in our mortgage payments, right? Because you're going to be taking capital out.
Correct.
Doing them essentially off book, it won't take any other income.
Correct.
Right? So we won't see that as far as
you would not. So it would avoid the adopt a project paying for it versus coming in that way. Russ, you have something to add?
Jim, the way it makes sense in my head, we have the mortgage amount, the principal amount, and then the other is basically an equity loan thrown on top of it.
Yeah.
Is that right, Jim?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing is people were talking about seeds.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a requirement to have a savings account, a deposit with the people that we currently have our mortgage with?
Formally, yes. We carry $100 in that account to meet that obligation.
Is that all, just
Yes, sir.
100?
It's $100 in the account to meet that obligation with
if
this
we
investment
can't,
fund.
go back to that point, if we can't borrow from seeds anymore, it's not doing us any good sitting out there doing nothing. We can't go out. It's not a safety net for us at this point. It's already depleted. And the question that Ed came up with is that, why not put it down against the mortgage, reduce it something? I'm not sure how much that's going to reduce the payments, but you can't do anything else with it. If we only need $100, just leave $100 in there and use it to pay off a chunk to the mortgage, because we can't do anything else with it.
I could consider that. I think my concern is if we still are facing this cash flow shortage in August and September with what our forecasted offerings are, that $25,000 doesn't help, but it's something. So that's why I would like to see us, instead of getting rid of it, start looking at how do we rebuild it to help us bridge through that shortfall period that we know is coming at the end of summer and into third quarter.
So when you say you can't borrow from it, that's not really the exact thing. You can borrow from it, but you don't want to borrow from it because it's so low.
Correct.
We can borrow down to $100, right?
Well, Sandy, what would you say?
You need a microphone, dear. I know. I'm one of those sound guys, real particular about this.
All right. Jim, what I was saying is if we borrow any more and we drop below that 25,000, we have to close it. So we could pull 26,000 that's there.
Right.
But that's it.
Right.
We have to close the endowment.
We can't have the endowment fund at that point. We could still have seeds cash fund at that point as a way to help us bridge, because regardless of what happens, we still have to have enough cash on hand to bridge through those shortfall
And then
periods.
that goes back to the point, you can't use it if you have a shortfall of cash flow. You might as well pay off the mortgage with it.
I'd have to think about that one, Jim. That's my concern is that still I want to be able to make our financial. Jack? Oh.
We got a question over here.
I'm Donna Nomad. I have one more quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm noticing that we're starting the year with this budget in a $25,000 deficit. How does any other church I've been, that whatever the total revenue and the total expenses match, and we live within our means. With us starting out with a $150,000 overage, how does that make us meet our needs? I think we probably should drop that so that we have a total revenue and total expenses match, and then if we need more, because thankfully some very nice member of this church donated the money for my husband's position. What happens at the end of the year? Is he going to get fired because there's no money?
So that bigger plan at this point is that's part of what Sandy's going to be talking about here at the end of the conversation. To address your first point, annually we've carried a faith component on our mortgage. It's usually something on the order of $20,000 to $25,000, just that we assume that is going to be made up through congregation faith giving. Historically, we've met that. The last year and a half, we have been continuing to see shortfalls, which is what has got us into this challenge point with seeds. That's why you're seeing a lot of the pressure about increasing your offering to 10% so we can meet that shortfall. I don't want to go into the specifics how we would actually meet that expenses, because to be honest with you, we haven't had those conversations at this point. I can tell you there's not a lot on the revenue and the expense side that really is flexible at this point. So I think the first thing that we would do is come back to the congregation and be ultra clear with you guys of where we're at. And that is something that we're going to do this year. Last year, if you guys noticed in your weekly bulletin, we were giving you what the monthly forecasts are. We're going to continue to do that, and we're going to be even more transparent so you can see what are we giving on a weekly basis. Because the key number is we have to make $10,000 in revenue, or we have $10,000 effectively per week in expenses that we need to balance the budget. We looked at the budget. There's not a lot that we can cut to get it down there. We can formalize the faith component to bring that up to a zero, but recognizing that that's what that would be is a faith component that we're looking either through growth or increased offerings or increased usage of the facilities that would help to bridge that gap.
I'm just noticed that, last year, every time we turned around, the church was asking for donations for a lot of things on top. So all the extra giving is going toward what the church needs throughout the year. So you're not going to get that mortgage down, because on top of our giving, our tithes, we're giving to the church every month, even to the point where there are no annual reports printed, because I guess there's not enough money for ink and paper so that people can actually see what's going on.
Okay. Go ahead, Ted.
It's Ted Dinklage. Just the rate of return on that investment we've got, is it better than the mortgage interest rate?
Good question. To be honest with you, Ted, I haven't looked to see what the rate of return is on the mortgage. Bear with me for 2 seconds. Treasury report, financial report. So I have not worked out what the rate of return is on that. I can tell you that the endowment did bring in on a roughly something on the order of $50,000, because obviously that number was changing throughout the year. It generated $2,150 of interest revenue in 2025. So I'd have to go and figure out what that internal rate of return is. I haven't run that Excel calculation.
Jack?
I'm going to see if I can help bring closure to this,
Go ahead.
Jim.
Former President Jack Zimmer.
And the guy who recruited him to do what he's been doing for the last 7 years, I think now, yes?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and he's doing a great job. This council and us pulled out a rabbit out of a hat last year to get us where we are today, which is not in great shape, but it's in better shape than had we not done all the things that we've done. And yes, we've come back many, many times. There are a couple, 3 things I wanted to point out, but depleting all the cash out of seeds is not a good idea, because any not-for-profit organization should have between 10 and 30% reserves for the rainy days. We're not even close to that. So taking the money out of cash to put it in the mortgage, that's great. $25,000 reduces the principal from $960,000 to $945,000, or however that math is. That doesn't really help that. But cash is king, so now we don't even have that cash for the other rainy days that we have. So these guys have worked out a pretty good plan. Is it perfect? Heck no, because there's an element that I haven't heard once except from Kevin. He and his wife went back and said, can we do more? And Deb and I have been talking about what we could do. And I'm going to just tell you that I'm joining Kevin, and we're going to do more this year. And if we all decide, golly, could I do 10% more than I actually said I could do? I'm in here for $5,000. Could I do $6,000? I'm in here for $15,000. Could I do 20? I think that's the question that needs to be asked, as opposed to all these other little minutia questions that these guys have bled over for 90 days.
Thank you, Jack.
Hi, this is Evelyn Alexander. I would like to just challenge not the council only, but everybody to come up with some ideas on how we can increase revenue besides just asking for the members to put more money in, right? Mm-hmm. There are probably other opportunities. I don't know, but certainly other opportunities to reduce expenses. We came up with the changing from realm to whatever it's title. Mm-hmm. But it's everybody's responsibility, right? The company I worked for years ago, a small little division, we were challenged with that. And mm-hmm. every employee, 200 of them, came up with ideas on how to come up with reducing your expenses and increasing your revenue, and it didn't mean cutting our salaries. Mm-hmm.
No, and I totally appreciate that. Really quickly, if I could ask a favor, can all of our council members stand up again? So if you have ideas, these are the people you should go and talk to, because we would love to hear the ideas you're having for revenue generation. I mean, we recognize that's how we're going to bridge the gap. That's going to both bridge the cash flow shortfall that we've got. Okay, you guys can sit down now, sorry. And it's also going to help us rebuild our cash endowment to the 10% that we would hopefully get to, plus start paying off that principal, because ultimately if we didn't have that mortgage, we'd be in a lot healthier place financially right now. Jeremy, what time is it? Okay, I know I need to give Sandy a few minutes. Are there any other priority questions? Okay, with that, all in favor of accepting the budget as proposed, raise their hand. All opposed? Budget carries. I did have one other point of order before I hand the microphone over to Sandy, is a proposed bylaw change. So when we were reviewing our bylaws, you guys can find these online, we identified an issue with our existing bylaws. Section 307 and 308, the old version of the bylaws, and you should have all received an email like this, was limiting us to having $1,000 before we had to come back to the congregation to have a meeting. Challenge part was it was not built with inflation in mind when we came up with that $1,000 idea. So the new proposal is to change effectively the terms from $1,000 to 2% of the approved annual budget, which for this year would be $10,400. That would give us the ability to actually manage within the budget at that point. Obviously, we are going to talk with congregation. It's just a point of order that we want to make sure that we have the flexibility to do that without having to bring it to the congregation meeting if we needed to go into that order. So that's section 307 and section 308. In sake of time, I'm not going to read through those specific numbers, but can I get a motion to accept the bylaw change? Russ Larson first. Can I get a second? Larry Finke. Any conversation or question about those bylaw changes? If not, all in favor of accepting the bylaw change as proposed, raise your hand. All opposed, same motion. Bylaw change has been accepted. And with that, thank you guys. One final thing I did want to mention here is a lot of financial challenges, but I still have to come back to the non-financial health of our congregation at this point. And I think, really, I know from where I'm at, it's looking really exciting. So I think we just need to continue to buy into a lot of the positive here as well. With that, I'll hand it over to your new president. So Sandy, what are you going to do?
I'm going to take a vacation, apparently. Thank you. The very first thing, and I know we have very little time, so I'm going to speed talk, but I absolutely, again, want to thank Kevin as our president. I obviously have big shoes to fill, and if you've seen him, you know how big his shoes are. So I literally have big shoes. With that said, I want to talk about 3 areas real quickly. I'm just going to roll right into what we just left off with, which is the mortgage refinance and capital improvements. Donna brought up, we need to find a way to pay that mortgage off. And I want to make sure you guys know that very conversation is something that we've been thinking and talking about. What can we do? We know, and our goal is, in fact, it was supposed to be my responsibility coming in that in my term, that mortgage is paid off. So, tongue in cheek, although I would say technically, if we do the refinance, we are paying off the original one, and I will have met the requirement. So, but seriously, I did want to make sure you know that we are having these conversations. We have been thinking about this, and absolutely coming up with a way to reduce or eliminate the mortgage. That is one of our top discussion topics. But in the interim, until we can effectuate that, as Jim has pointed out, cash flow has to happen. We have to have positive cash flow to continue to meet all our expenses and pay our staff. If we don't, then we have to start making hard decisions, and we don't want to go there. And so I'm going to skip into a little bit just because we already talked about the capital improvements. Bear in mind, the reason why we're considering a refinance and a pullout of funds to make capital improvements, the mortgage company expressed to us that they have interest in our long-term health. If we know that we have roughly $100,000 worth of capital improvements to make, and we choose to just extend or pay down the mortgage and re-amortize it to reduce the payment, we're still going to have to come and ask for an adopt-a project, as Jim said. And asking for a $55,000 air conditioner is a lot of money. We don't want to do that. So by making these capital improvements, those are things that we don't want to have to deal with, and we can just focus on the normal offering, hopefully. And leading into that, our thought process is 10% increase, $10,000 a week. That's our goal. Hopefully, through the growth in our faith, and by faith I mean volunteering, taking part, getting engaged in all of the special events or projects that we have, and this congregation has done an awesome job in 25. And notice I am referencing the first year for the first time correctly. Everybody else has said 24, 26. But doing that is one way, because the more involvement we have and engagement we have, especially when it involves community, outside community, that's an opportunity to see the growth in the families, which is the next component. As we grow families, if we can get more families in here, that is going to help towards our goal of $10,000 a week. And I don't mean to focus this all on money, because there's more to it. It's very important our faith grows. But I think by demonstrating how much growth we've done right now through 25, that's a prime example to show that there's so much more we can do in 26. And then finally, I'm not going to talk about the offerings again because I just did that. But tithely, please take a moment and prayerfully consider doing an increase in anything you can to your pledge. The next thing I'm going to talk about, and I kind of switched them a bit, but is very important, and I don't know if PC is still listening with us, but is a pastor sabbatical. As you know, 25 has been a very long and up and down year, especially for Pastor recently, as he mentioned. But that man puts a lot of literal blood, sweat, and tears into this church, this ministry, and this congregation. He has not had a real sabbatical since I think it was 2016 or 2017. We aren't in a position to be able to do that this year, but what we are committed to doing is giving him some extended time, a month. If we can do a month a year, that will allow him to sit back and recharge. And I'm just bringing this up because this is one of the goals for this year that we will do. We're going to give him a respite a bit, and I think hopefully when he comes back, he'll be recharged, and our awesome pastor that we're used to, which he is anyway, if you're still listening. So, but with that said, that's really all that I wanted to mention on that. I know it's not the best news to hear what our financial condition is, but it is our goal to be very transparent. I think we've been that transparent in 25, but we are looking, as Jim said, to increase that transparency, to make sure that it is perfectly clear to everyone exactly where we are, where our financial health is. It's going to be challenging, but I have absolute faith that we will get it done. And I am backed up by, you guys have seen the members up here several times from the council, Jeff Mabry is going to be an excellent vice president. So I feel comfortable and I feel confident that we should be able to make some really good things happen this year. And I just trust that you guys will have faith in us and come along with us for this journey. And with that, that's what I'm going to say. And so now, I think the next slide, we are ready for closing prayer and adjournment. I don't know, is PC still with us? Oh, question. I'm sorry, I didn't halt for a question. Yes, Mr. K.
Not a question, an offer. And I know it's not much. If 10 people are willing to give $100, I will give $1,000 towards the mortgage.
That is awesome. That is an awesome statement. Thank you. Any other questions or comments that we have? Okay.
I'm going to take one, Sandy. I've been holding the microphones, they haven't had a chance to talk. Jeremy Brown. Just wanted to say, I was going to say it when Jim was up. Council work can be a thankless job. Jim and council, y'all have a very hard job. We've handed you numbers that aren't very good to work with. We talk about a zero-based budget in our own homes. We do zero-based budgets. Money that comes in, money that goes out, the two must equal at the end of the month. You got to have a plan for the whole thing. We come up every year with a faith-based component, and that drives me nuts. I'll tell you that out loud. I could not sit in your chair, Jim Lamo. I could not. I'm a zero-based budget kind of guy. Having said that, you're working with the numbers you've got. I haven't been into them near as deep as you have. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Thank you for your efforts. Ma'am, we're looking forward to your leadership.
Thank you. Thank you. Jim does a tremendous job. Absolutely. Okay. Do we still have Pastor with us? He can't talk? Okay. Well, then, dadgummit, that leaves me with the closing prayer. Okay. Okay, I'm going to run out of sight real quick because I anticipated that could potentially happen. Well, let's just say I thought it could be possible. But, you know, of course, I had to write it down. Okay, our closing prayer. Please pray with me. Gracious Lord, we thank you for your presence among us today. We are grateful for the insight shared, the decisions made, and the unity we have experienced. As we leave, may your Holy Spirit guide us to carry out this work. Bless our church community and keep us centered on your love. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank goodness for Google. We are adjourned. Yeah, rules. I'm not so good with the rules yet.
To all of you in the congregation, we're going to take a moment to switch live streams off of the congregational meeting onto the service. If you need to get a cup of coffee, now would be a great time. We'll start worship here in just a few minutes.